All right, today's gospel reading will be from Luke chapter 14, verses 1 through 11. As always, I'll be doing the explanation according to the blessed Theophylact, who is an archbishop from the Ohrid region of Bulgaria from the 11th century. Verses 1 through 6. And it came to pass, as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath, that they watched him. And behold, there was a certain man before him who suffered from dropsy. And Jesus answering spake unto the lawyers and the Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? And they were silent. And he took him, and healed him, and let him go, and answered them, saying, Which of you shall have an ass or an ox fallen into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath? And they could not answer him again to these things. And the explanation here: even though the Lord knew the perverse disposition of the Pharisees, he still went into their homes. He did this because he desired to bring benefit to souls. The Pharisees could be helped either by the word of his teachings or by his working of signs, if only they were willing. Therefore, when the man with dropsy came into their midst, it was the Lord's desire to benefit the sick in need of healing, and he did not turn from this purpose out of fear that the Pharisees might be scandalized. And whenever the occasion arises to bring great benefit to others, neither should we worry about those foolish ones who may be scandalized. The Lord rebukes the mindlessness of those who are about to accuse him, and says, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not? He is not openly ridiculing them as Is he not openly ridiculing them as foolish? If God himself had blessed the Sabbath, why do these foolish men prevent the doing of good on the Sabbath, and thus render the Sabbath cursed? For a day on which no good work is permitted cannot be blessed. But the Pharisees understood where his question was leading them, and were silent. Then Jesus does what is his to do, and heals the man by his touch. He shames the Pharisees as well, by saying to them what amounts to this: If the law prohibits showing mercy on the Sabbath, why do you help your child when he falls into danger on the Sabbath? But why mention your child? You do not even ignore your ox when you see it in danger on the Sabbath. Therefore, is it not foolishness to find fault with the healing of a man with dropsy on the Sabbath? The man with dropsy, swollen with water, represents every man who is grievously afflicted in soul, because his way of life is watery and irresolute, soft and full of pleasures. He is in need of Christ. But even he will be healed if only he comes before Christ, as did the man with dropsy. For he who always remembers that he is in the presence of God, and that God sees him, will sin very little. And verses 7 through 11. And he told a parable to those who had been invited, when he observed how they chose out of the places of honor, saying unto them, When thou art invited by any man to a wedding, sit not down in the place of honor, lest a more honorable man than thou be invited by him. And he that invited both thee and him to come, and say to thee, Give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest place. But when thou art invited, go and sit in the lowest place, that when he that inviteth thee cometh, he may sit unto thee. Friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have glory in the presence of them that sit at table with thee. For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. And the explanation here: do you see the kind of supper Christ gives? His suppers are for the benefit of the soul, not for the filling up of the stomach. Behold, when he had healed the man with dropsy, he taught the Pharisees that it is right to do good on the Sabbath. Then, when he saw them clamoring for the seats of honor, he heals this passion as well. This is a passion which does not spring from something trivial, but, on the contrary, has its origin in something grievous and difficult to escape, namely, vainglory. And let no one think that Christ's teaching on this is a small matter, unworthy of the majesty of God. Indeed, would you call a physician compassionate who promised to heal gout in the feet and other serious illnesses, but refused to treat of broken finger or a toothache? But then again, how can the passion of vainglory, which constantly assaults those who desire the places of honor, be considered minor? It was imperative, therefore, that Christ, who is the teacher of humility and its very origin and perfection, should cut off every shoot from the wicked root of vainglory. Consider this as well. If the Lord had been speaking about this on an occasion other than supper time, and if he had interrupted his other teaching to make this point, there might be a reason to dismiss his teaching on this matter as something trivial. But now it was supper time, and before his very eyes the Savior sees these miserable men vexed by the passion to be first. And so his exhortation was necessary and timely. See how the Lord saves a man from utter reproach and gives him greater respect. Think what a complete disgrace it would be if you took a seat that did not befit your rank, and then a more distinguished person came, and the host said, "Give up your seat to this man." And this happened repeatedly, and you descended lower and lower, while others went higher. On the other hand, how deserving of praise would that man be who was indeed worthy of the first seat at the table, but who took a low seat at the beginning? Then everyone would rise and give way to him and seat him in the place of honor. Does it indeed seem to you a small matter, this exhortation of the Lord, which underscores the greatest of all virtues, humility? The Lord establishes humility within the souls of those who listen and leads them to act with decorum, as Paul, the disciple of Christ, said later, "Let all things be done decently and in order," as he said in 1 Corinthians 14:40. How is this accomplished? Let no one pursue his own advantage, but let each one seek the advantage of others. Do you see that the disciple Paul is saying the same thing as his teacher? How shall we understand the words, "Whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased"? How can this be? There are many in this life who exalt themselves and seem to enjoy honor. But to enjoy great honor in this world is, in fact, to be abased. For such a man, in the eyes of God, is wretched and abased. Besides this, a man who enjoys worldly honor never in fact receives it from everyone, nor does he receive it until the very end of his life. For while some may honor him, there are always others who mock him, often the same ones who gave him honor. Hence, this declaration of truth holds true. Whosoever exalteth himself unworthily, usurping honor for himself, shall be abased both by God at the last judgment and even by all men in this life. Because of his fallen nature, no man is worthy to be exalted. Therefore, let no one exalt himself, lest at the end he be brought low.